I have a spectrum that I rate these things on. Technically skillful on one end and creatively imaginative on the other end.
Yeah.
They all clearly appreciated composition. So this person wrote it because they really felt they had to write it.
The feel of the piece is going to be influenced by the activity of an instrument in your hands, making music with other human beings, with other instruments in their hands, all kinds of music.
And to me, is not only were these preternatural in their focus and scope, but also I'd say not all, but the majority of these pieces are not reasonably playable by high school students.
It's about taking it out of this rarefied moment and this thing, and again, making it just be something that everybody can feel they have a part of.
Your tempo, the key, the articulation, the phrasing. We are in the hands of a composer who is confident with something specific to say.
I emulated the feeling that you get from fire, like this burning, passionate sensation. Water was the easiest, I think. And for wind, it's kind of hard to emulate those polar winds, so I used glissando. Like for earth, I chose to emulate the sound of animals, organisms interacting.
I like this one.
The tale of the Tower of Babel from Genesis it's a good story. It's a myth. It's a part of the collective unconscious, the idea that we were all one and then we get scattered apart.
I was inspired by the dramatic elements that Story of Babylon has, and most challenging part was to express that dramatic elements with soprano and string quartets. I used a lot of extended techniques in string, and to combine them with soprano was very hard to me. But I was satisfied about the result.
I think that this work, The Story of Babylon, does really well at making a lot of drama and a lot of high notes for sopranos to go willy-nilly on.
It had a sense of breath to it. It has a beautiful sort of notion of imitation. Where he or she heard the piece all the way through. It has a form. It goes places. It goes back to places. It revisits things. And I just liked everything about this piece. I thought it was really good.
And I'm still working on this. So I'm trying to figure out how I can decide on gestures or sound objects or whatever you want to call them. To use as building blocks for pieces to manipulate, but in such a way that those manipulations are discernible to the listener and meaningful.
I really wished that some of these pieces were as original as their titles, but this one is. It's quite ambitious and quite imaginative. It's got lots of good rhythmic energy and lots of textural variety.
In cognitive dissonance, I was exploring my first run-in with holding a number of contradictory ideas in my head at the same time. So I decided to see what would happen if I combined stream of consciousness composing with a rigid structure. What I try to do as a composer is make parts that are fun for the players to play. I think I have an understanding of what parts that I like to play.
It's inventive. It unfolds like with a good narrative. One would not stop listening to it as one was hearing it. It's original. She knows what she's doing. She knows what it's going to sound like.
I faced several issues from a compositional standpoint when I was writing the piece, sort of not knowing which direction it should take, trying to balance that sort of classical medium and the jazz medium. They're almost one and the same. They live and breathe together, in my mind, jazz and classical music, because that's the way that I was trained, and that's the way that I've experienced music as a bass player and a composer and a musician in general.
Let Me Sink was based off of a poem which I compiled from various things like some pop songs and some things that I had thought of on my own. And what it explores is Freudian ideas of the id and the superego and how to manifest those musically.
This piece actually looked like they had heard and looked at scores of the last 50 years of a wide variety. It's a pretty cool piece. It does a lot of interesting things. And then I also thought it's a really sincere, honest piece. I mean, he's having a good time.
Yeah. You have to be happy with not even the result, but just the process. You have to enjoy what you're doing and be glad to be learning new things and making the music you want to.
It was really, really great to see my piece performed, especially by such great performers. It's a really hard piece and they did a really good job.
It's just seeing what other people are doing and what people my age are coming up with. I thought it was a wonderful experience.
I got to hear my music and the music of other high school composers, both in the context of a concert of high school aged composers, but also in the middle of this spectacular electroacoustic festival.
Being able to listen to all these young composers having their work performed by such high-level players has been a really incredible experience, especially just sort of thinking about where music's going in the next 50 years. I'm really excited about everything.
So I am so impressed by these kids. I'm so moved to have been part of this as a parent myself. I just found their journey so inspiring, and to see them with each other interact, it's just like I'm just thrilled. I think we really hit the mark in what we wanted to do with the project, and hopefully the kids will continue to be inspired and make great music that'll be on the main stage in a couple of years.